Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Final Fantasy VII Remake Commentary, where we are making our way through the second Mako Reactor, which, unlike the original game, is not a copy-paste of the same three screens, but is actually, for the most part, a completely original area.
And the thing, we still have 6 more of these to do.
Correction, Lois. It's not the second. It's the fifth.
Details.
I'm just saying you're wrong.
We did reactors 2 through 4 off screen.
On that note, I think during concept development they did consider doing all 8 reactors, but
that sounds miserable.
yeah, it does kind
I'm
of.
really glad they didn't. Like I was all for like us exploring more sectors, like in the remake and or otherwise, but not actually like doing the same thing 8 times.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to think about the concept development for Final Fantasy VII, where at one point they were considering Xenogears for Final Fantasy VII in concept development. It obviously didn't get accepted and wound up being its own franchise, but like the reason Xenogears was denied that honor at the time, I think, was because it was too sci-fi for Final Fantasy. And then they went the sci-fi route anyway in the end.
Well, it's really only sci-fi feeling in the first couple of hours. It feels much less sci-fi later on. When you
It's usually Midgard.
It sort of
Yeah.
intermittently goes back and forth between being fantasy
Yeah.
and sci-fi, really. I mean,
But only once, though, I would say, because, like...
Oh no, Tifa's cowboy dad.
well, there's Junin, there's Rocket Town, there's,
Rocket Town only because of the giant rocket in the back, but at that point, it's just more of just a set piece, not
yep,
actually...
the giant rocket is where you spend most of your time while you're there. That and Sid's house, but, you know... I mean, the boss battle for that town is a fat man jumping back and forth with a laser pistol in his hand, and he gets hit in the face by a truck at the end of the battle. It's not exactly the most fantasy situation you've ever seen in
The sci-fi guys being too sci-fi, I'm
Yeah.
gonna hit him with this truck.
Also, there's the sunken submarine, which is pretty sci-fi, and you know, Genova's entire.
That's literally sci-fi.
So we're just going to ignore the flashback.
yeah, pretty much. They just
Okay.
wanted to show off that they did indeed make that cowboy outfit for Tifa. Also, the gratuitous boob shot, definitely did not go unnoticed, I will say.
Well, you know, they got him.
That would have been handy to have last time.
It's just Jesse realized that radio waves exist.
Well, she was wearing the cowboy outfit in the flashback that happened here in the original too, so it is a detail that had to be there.
I mean, it didn't have to be there. They could have picked some... I mean, granted, I know the cowboy outfit is pretty iconic, but it is also, just the look of it does look like the sort of thing that would be a fan service DLC kind of thing versus like an outfit that's actually in the game.
$4.99.
Speaking of which, I'm actually surprised that they didn't have costume DLC for Final Fantasy VII Remake. You'd think they would.
Fans have already added in Cloud Stress as a mod.
Oh, well, that's already in the game for a different reason. But
Yes, but they added it into like actually.
what
play
I
around
mean
in
is
and, like,
actually
battle and stuff.
costumes that were made for combat, like the Advent Children designs and stuff.
Yeah, you know, you'd make a lot of money with a Popeye Cloud costume as well.
They could have given Aerith her Crisis Core dress, that kind of thing. You know.
I mean, Ted, what they could do instead of just it being like the typical low poly models that they've done for like Crash and Resident Evil is just Cloud with just huge Popeye buff like biceps and crap. Is they just for some reason like the bottom parts of his arms next to his wrists are just like 5 times bigger for no reason.
I would love to see how they would work low poly Barrett, because he is so stock.
He's just a fridge with like a goatee and a gun.
They should have
on the
included
side.
that stuff as Konami code unlocks, you know. So
Big head mode.
yeah, except it's big arm mode.
Also, Arkham City. Arkham City had a big arm and big head.
This
Yeah.
sequence, I really actually appreciated it because we got snippets of the public of the public perception of Avalanche. But here it's being rubbed in your face by Heidegger. And it's like all according to plan. He even does this stupid showy hologram of Airbuster in action just to taunt our heroes here.
But it's actually not ready for deployment yet, which is what I love about this. Like, they're just showing them a glorified MP4.
Also, I'm surprised that they reacted to it knowing it's a hologram.
This sequence is the first real example of classic Final Fantasy VII silliness starting to come into play. Up until now, it's been fairly serious, apart from Jesse being a bit of a tease, and well, Advent Children Boy jumping in to do his motorcycle acrobatics. But
And a traditional battle music.
I also like how amped up Barrett is about the opportunity to turn this around and create positive publicity for Avalanche, even though he should know damn well they're muting him.
Well, he kept interrupting Shinner the last time, so it's for the better.
Now, I had a bit of a brain fart here, where I completely forgot that I should be counter-striking.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Is it because there's three of them?
But one of the things that you have to watch out for with these guys is that it's only really the ones from the first reactor that only attack with physical attacks. The elite shock troopers that appear in later areas start to use the lasers, which is a thing that they had in the original game. So you can't rely on them to just do counterattacks. And there I was just like, yeah, you know what? I'm almost dead. Fuck it, I'm using my goddamn limit break to cut down their numbers.
You might as well.
If you don't use your limit break, you can't then have your limit break be charging anymore.
I mean, yeah, but it's also, they only charge per battle, not something you can just bring over to the next one.
Yeah, that is one change from the original. Your limit gauge does not carry over between battles. Unfortunately.
Yeah, but then you could also potentially do 2 limit breaks in a fight, which I assume is probably a lot more rare outside of bosses, but...
Yeah.
Yeah, even boss fights don't usually give you an opportunity to use your limit break twice. Especially if you've equipped your level 2 limit break, which fills up a bit slower. Speaking of, the level 2 limit breaks are a fucking headache. Or, more specifically, Aerith's level 2 limit break is a fucking headache, because there's only one opportunity in the entire game to get it.
Wait, do they, like, unlock at specific points?
Okay, so what you need to do is go do this optional fight at Don Corneo's Coliseum in order to unlock the limit breaks for individual characters. You have to bring each character individually to the Coliseum in order to do their specific challenge battle to get the level 2 limit break.
Which is easy enough at towards later game where you have your Cloud, Tifa, and Barrett party all around.
But there's only one opportunity to do it with Aerith, and you might not think to do it because you just left the Coliseum, and you might not even know there's any optional battles there yet. By the time you realize there are optional battles for limit breaks, you might have already left it behind.
That was me.
Yeah, it was me too.
It's good to see that even the part 1 of the remake has its great gospel.
Yeah, the issue with this is, even if you're doing it through chapter select after you've beaten the game, it's pretty deep into the chapter that you need to go to do it. So it's a bit of a headache to go back and get. So yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, Aerith's level 2 limit break probably isn't the most crucial to get since her limit breaks aren't offensive limit breaks in the first place. But, you know.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I looked up what it did, and it's like, yeah, I don't really need this. I'm not going to bother.
Mm-hmm.
But you gotta complete the list.
I mean, do you really?
It depends.
Well, there are achievements.
I mean, I see more use getting it compared to enemy skills in this game.
True. Yeah, I'd say so.
Can't even complete enemy skill without doing hard mode.
Yeah, complete all 3 enemy skills.
I'm just saying. You still got to do it.
You'll probably get more opportunities to get those enemy skills on the second episode anyway.
Yeah, I don't care for blue magic anyway, so.
So, what did you guys prioritize?
I did a mix of bomber and the stuff that gave you money.
Yeah, same. I got rid of pretty much all of its big bomber attacks.
Well, the thing that gives you money, the AI cores also limits a different attack.
Yeah, so
I think it's the rapid fire one.
yes.
Yeah, so
Don't do the M2, that's useless.
the M units are just items, and not particularly rare ones either. We're talking stuff like Phoenix Downs here. So, I mean, if you're really low on supplies, maybe go for it, but I wouldn't bother.
Stuff that you can find in a vending machine, which gives me the idea that Shinra just jammed it with vending machine items as a last-ditch effort to fight.
Did you see
Avalanche.
Barrett was clipping straight
Yeah.
through Cloud? Wow, he really wants to join Cloud's party.
He wants to do it in the PS1 version where they just
Yeah,
they
old-fashioned way.
just slurp into the Cloud's body. We are become one.
Anyway, the item.
You have to do this M unit to progress. so.
Yeah, the items that you can get from Big Bomber, you can collect them at a room later on. If you collect the AI cores, you can sell those for gil at any shop, and you get a pretty healthy amount of gil for it. If you collect the bombs, I think they become usable offensive items.
Yes.
So,
They're okay, not super good, but not terrible either.
more valuable than the Phoenix Downs anyway.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So beyond the choices that you make for disarming the Airbuster boss, this is a fairly linear section. You're just sort of looping around on your way up, fighting enemies here and there. The one thing that you need to watch out for is that there is one key card for Airbuster that is hidden outside in one of these sections, which you will probably not think to look for because all the other key cards are in the actual computer rooms where they belong. There's just one laying on the floor out in one of these sections. Not this one, but one of the others after the next room, I think. I do pick it up here, though.
Someone was slacking.
But yeah, I think in total you can collect 7 key cards, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible to disable everything.
It isn't.
No.
There's something you just have to let go.
But as we said, M units are useless, so it doesn't help Airbuster that much.
Airbuster defeated. Airbuster used Phoenix Down that you thought was useless. Oh shit.
Yeah, but it only came back. It only came back with like a small amount of HP, so you just boop it on the head again and it dies. Oh no!
Yeah, that's how Phoenix Downs tend to work out.
Airbuster used Phoenix down. Airbuster came back with 1 HP. Bonk. Airbuster's defeated again. You got 5,000 more experience.
And exploded twice.
Wow, grinding on Airbuster is really easy.
There's only one pathway that Avalanche can follow, so why are these guys always so surprised when you come through their room? Did Heidegger just...
We didn't actually come here.
Did Heidegger just not alert anyone that the enemy was coming? I mean,
Probably not.
This is a really defensible location. They could just, set up barricades, choke points, tactical advantages.
It seems like these guys aren't that bright, though.
I was always under the impression that it's more that Heidegger wants to put on the show with the Airbuster rather than help his troops out.
Well, the thing is, right now, Airbuster's not ready for deployment.
Yeah.
Because he was bullshitting for the thing. So, right now, every coordination is just getting the Airbuster ready, fuck the other guys in the security halls.
Yeah,
Like, if they're there,
except
they're there.
those are the rooms that the parts for Airbuster are coming from. And we're stopping that from happening.
Yeah, but I'm looking at Airbuster right now, and he's like, calls to me, I gotta send him out there. I don't give a shit if the other Arsenal's not ready. Let's get him out there.
Jesus.
It's called Airbuster. That's what I call my vacuum.
I'll nickname it the Hoover.
The other thing to keep in mind is that
Dyson!
the individual computers do actually connect to specific parts. So you need to know which computers go to which parts in order to disable everything. So
I mean, it tells you. And I do like this flavor dialogue where Cloud knows what all this stuff is because he's a quote-unquote soldier.
well, he was a soldier, even if he wasn't
Shinra grunt. Shinra employee. I think you could just generalize it to that.
Well, he was a soldier, like infantry.
He was a grunt,
Yeah.
not a soldier. You have to make that distinction
my
because
God.
there is a
The
group
point
called soldiers.
is, it makes sense that he knows about military shit.
Yeah.
Incidentally, while I was pleasantly surprised by how well they handled Cloud here, I probably shouldn't have worried quite so much, because they handled Cloud well enough during his brief appearances in Crisis Core when I think about it. He was pretty nice there. You know, just pleasant, somewhat reserved, kind of the way you would imagine him to have been before he got brain screwed.
To put it
Before he
lightly.
thought he was Zack.
Yeah. He's a friendly enough guy in Crisis Core. You can sort of see him and Zack getting along together. They don't interact that much, but they interact enough that you can see that there's some genuine friendship chemistry going on there. They play off of each other well for the 30 seconds that they interact, I guess.
Yeah, but for some reason Zack keeps talking about Gongaga.
Hmm?
Me, Gongaga.
Okay.
That one's going
it's
over
a
my
it's
head.
a, it's a me- it's a mean
It's
line.
a Crisis Core reference, but it's like it became a me just because of the way it's phrased. And then Cloud asks where he's from and says, "Me,
Me,
Gongaga."
Gongaga. It's like what?
It's like, "No, you're Zack."
Oh, right. Now I remember. Yeah, thinking about it, Crisis Core did handle the returning characters well. Better than any other game or story that happened around that time. Like,
I think that's kind of why Crisis Core got thrown under the bus a little bit.
why? Because it was better.
I mean more because thrown under the bus in regards to getting played more. Because it was like, oh, Dirge Cerberus sucks, Advent Children, everyone's all mopey and whiny, and everything regarding 7 after the initial game was just kind of not good.
Wouldn't that mean the other games got thrown under the bus, but Crisis Core was spared?
No, what Ryan means because Dirge of Cerberus left a bad taste in everybody's mouth, and because Advent Children was mixed at best, folks didn't pay attention to Crisis Core.
Oh,
originally.
yeah. fair
Advent
enough.
Children was only mixed after they updated it.
No, it was mixed since day one.
No, I thought people didn't like it on day one and then thought it was after they updated it.
Yeah, to me, for my eyes, reception didn't change
That's
at all.
more because Advent Children Complete did insert things that kind of helped the story sort of maybe make a little
Finish the
sense.
movie.
Yeah, like it wasn't quite as incomprehensible anymore. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the story that was
Never
there was...
call your re-releases complete, because that insinuates that what you gave beforehand was incomplete.
Well,
Because
yeah, I mean it makes sense in a video game where you're including all of the DLC. Like that's
Yeah, I'm gonna
sensible
say, John, you say that, but there's absolutely going to be a Final Fantasy VII Remake complete collection. You know that, right?
but is that a collection of games, or is it the same game that's updated?
I mean, you could
Yes.
argue that.
If it's a collection of games, then I would say complete collection makes total
I would
sense.
rather see something called the Complete Collection than I would like to see them call it
Yeah.
something like Game of the Year
I mean,
edition.
wouldn't you be angry if you bought Dragon Quest finished?
No, not really.
I mean,
Oh.
Dragon Quest.
That's basically what
Dragon
definitive
Quest
means.
stupid titles are about making the subtitle a lot longer. It's not about calling them.
Okay,
like,
Dragon Quest actually finished.
No, you need to add another 8 letters there, John. Step it up.
Dragon Quest, the game version that is actually finished, Echoes and Evolution finished.
Thank you, Ryan. There we go. If you're gonna make fun of Dragon Quest, do it right. God damn it.
That's basically the dictionary definition of a definitive edition, you know. But you know.
Yeah, I mean, pretty
Just
much.
saying.
He's right. But I mean, the thing you have to note is that Dragon Quest XI was actually good the first time they did it, which a lot of these sorts of things often aren't. So yeah.
I'd rather see things be called something like Complete Edition than Game of the Year Edition, which just like.
Oh god, I'm getting flashbacks to the Batman Arkham City.
Arkham City,
Game
10 out
of
of
the Year
10.
Edition.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 was my favorite Batman.
Everything is a Game of the Year, God damn it! But
Oh yeah, I love the years where there's like 6 games on the shelf that say Game of the Year Edition on it.
and they all came out in the same year.
Yeah, I know. So I just
know.
call it a game of the year.
So you know,
A game that came out in the year, whatever.
but like I don't mind if it's something like a video game where a re-release called Complete that has all the DLC included on the disc is, you know, something that's a nice value package. It's a bit sketchier when it's something like a movie, though.
Agreed there, yes. Although I guess that there is also stuff like director's cut, I suppose, which might imply the same sort of thing.
Not quite, because director's cut means the film is literally arranged differently based on the director's wishes.
Yeah, and that's that means more or less depending on the exact movie. I think the example that will stand for all is Blade Runner.
Yes. That and the Richard Donner cuts of Superman stuff.
How different is the
Do I say
director's
Halloween
cut
6?
for Blade
I
Runner?
know-
Because I've
I know
never
Halloween.
seen either version of
Okay,
the movie.
Blade Runner in its theatrical release was like heavily weighed down by editorial tampering. Basically, they inserted a lot of narration by Harrison Ford doing a very bored-sounding voice the entire time.
Because they needed to explain it for general audiences who are too stupid to understand what's going on.
Yeah, that was basically the mentality. They didn't think general audiences would understand. The director's cut is the movie without all that bullshit added in, so it's the movie as it was originally intended. So in Blade Runner's case, the director's cut really is the way to watch the movie. Where that's substantially more worthwhile than some other director's cuts where it's just like, you know, it's got a few deleted scenes added in, maybe a bit of different music here and there.
Well, in the case of the Donner cuts for Superman, those have to do with Rando's rights regarding stuff that he filmed in.
I don't really know the difference between those and whatever else, though. So, I couldn't really tell you what I think of that. But
Actually, was Resident Evil the only game that had a re-release called Director's Cut, now that I think about it?
Oh, I'm sure there's others.
The Sonic DX director's cut.
So, yeah, you're right. Sonic Ridge did. Yeah.
yeah, that thing where a Japanese company used DX as an abbreviation for director's cut. Unbeknownst to them, DX is actually the abbreviation for deluxe, not director's
Which
cut.
makes more sense.
So, oh well. Okay, so how many disarmaments have I made to Airbuster at this point? I'm trying to figure out, like,
You've taken all but 2 fingers.
I'm trying to figure out how far along this hallway we are based on how many parts of Airbuster I've eliminated so far. But
They're doing a really bad job guarding this thing, for the record.
yes, they are.
Well, we already killed the guard Scorpion. It was the only thing they had left, so.
I mean, Barrett should be overjoyed because he gets to put on a legitimate clown show with these assholes.
He was trying to get Cloud and Tifa to dance while he's making his speech. I know that they refused, but I kind of hope they committed to it.
I feel like Cloud would do it if he paid him, though, is the thing.
It's not even really a dance. I mean, that's jumping ahead, but I would have liked it if you just like some sort of like twerk with like middle fingers like high in the sky.
No, you just see a cloud in the background doing like Techno Viking as the Airbuster theme goes around.
Now, unfortunately, I do have to take time to swap my equipment around from time to time, even if I don't necessarily want to, because I do need to learn all of the weapon abilities for the characters at some point along the way, and I'd prefer not to spend a session grinding for that, so I generally try to make it happen during the natural flow of gameplay. Thankfully, it doesn't take all that long to learn a weapon skill.
Now, as long as you're aware of it, it doesn't take too long.
In fact, with the sole exception of the revival materia, I can't think of a single thing in this game that takes particularly long to grind up. The weapon skills don't take that long to learn. The materia doesn't take all that long to level up, except for that revival materia, but, you know.
No, because the pedometer is a different leveling up basis, though.
Oh yeah, you just put the pedometer on and run and let it level up while you're running around doing other things for a little while.
Do your base level side quests with that on, yeah.
Eventually, it'll become the other materia, and
The paladin shield.
no, unfortunately.
No? Oh, okay. Sorry, I got my wires crossed on that.
I don't remember what the pedometer turns into, but I remember it being useful.
It turns into something very useful. Give me a second, because I'm blanking on what it also transforms into.
Yeah, me too.
God, it's really weird typing in pedometer in a search bar because the first few letters are pedo. Just saying that right now.
FBI, please don't come towards me.
Okay, so whenever you're up against a group of Shinra soldiers, pro tip, go after the grenade guys first. Do not leave the grenade guys to throw grenades at you. You will regret every life decision you have ever made if you do not go after the grenade guys first.
It'd be a nice attention to detail if you put like use like one fire on them and then just all their grenades exploded.
They absolutely explode.
Yeah.
Pedometer becomes AP up. AP up.
Oh, AP up. Yes, that is
Yeah,
definitely
That's actually quite useful.
That's really
yes.
useful.
The moment you get that, you can link it up to another materia and level that materia up pretty fast, which is basically the only way you're going to level up revival materia within a single playthrough. And even then, you'll have to grind for it because, goddamn, it's like for that one materia, they forgot that they were going with lower AP requirements for the materia.
Well, they probably did that on purpose then, because they didn't want you to just be able to revive all over the place.
You can use the basic life spell with the revival materia. It's the full life spell, I think, that revival needs to level up for you to use.
So I imagine they wanted to have a wall there to make you grind to make sure you're ready for Bahamut.
The issue there is that you need to max out all the magic materia for one of Chadley's quests, I think.
Yeah, yes, that is one of Chadley's quests, and once you do all of the quests, you can fight Bahamut.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that if you're going into that kind of quest anyway, you kind of know it's going to take a long time.
Yeah, except
You know?
the thing is, it doesn't take a long time, except for that one materia. It's just a weird anomaly within the game's design.
I think it is basically just because they thought that ability was too strong to have if you were to just get it as quickly as everything else. Because being able to revive to full is... Think about it this way. It takes a lot less work to revive someone to full than it does to revive someone to critical and then have to heal them again.
Yeah.
There's a juggling act that needs to be done there, which is very tense in a lot of these action RPG
But
kind of games.
there's a very simple thing to balance that, which this game does indeed balance it with. The MP cost.
Yes, that is true, but it's also just a lot less work, and you're willing to pay that MP cost most of the time.
Right. But I don't think there are all that many revival materias in the game. And even if there were, you don't have that many slots to spend on materia in the first place. So you're not really going to have every character use the full life materia in the first place. So it's it just seems like kind of an unnecessary hump to make the player go through. that... how do I put this? Okay, in the original game, the one compliment I'll give the materia system is that for the most part, if you're playing the game fairly naturally without much in the way of grinding, and you were using your materia smartly, like making sure to keep it equipped at all times, using the double growth equipment here and there, the triple growth equipment once in a blue moon, you'd probably just naturally gain all the spells in the game at around the time that those spells become useful.
Yeah, that's true, I would say.
Whereas the full life spell in this game, like in the game's natural curve, it doesn't show up at all. It's such a grind heavy materia level up requirement that most players, I think, don't get full life until post game.
Yeah, and I would say, I mean, I'm not saying that it's good for the game, but I mean, I haven't played it, I don't know, but I'm sure that that's intentional. They didn't want you to be able to do it if that's the case. I mean, I don't know how much easier this game would be if you could just revive people to full at any point.
You have to consider hard mode.
Yeah, hard mode as well, too.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I also think that if you're playing hard mode, though, you could then scale the materia level up requirements for hard mode different than...
Well, no, hard mode is New Game Plus effectively anyway, so...
Yeah. It's just weird that it's that one spell that they decided to be draconian with. I don't know if there's some end game as far as their design curve with future episodes is concerned, maybe, but in any case.
Well, balancing the game's difficulty over 3 or however many games it's going to be is something that's going to be interesting, because I think a lot of people just assume that for part 2 you're going to start at square one all over again.
Yeah.
That seems to be the assumption among fans from what I've seen. And, like, if you're going to a part 3, where it's supposed to be the climax of the whole story, I feel like it would be underwhelming to then start the game back up at level 1. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Like, I was honestly not expecting when they did this game for you to even get to level 3 or 4 spells at all. Like, I thought that you would have fire and then Fira and not even get to Aga or whatever the fourth one is.
You couldn't keep it.
Yeah.
Tier 1, Tier 2 magic, though, for the length of the game.
I mean, they certainly seem to be okay with upping the action elements of it, so spell casting already takes a backseat, so they could focus more on variety than power scaling.
Yeah, but there's still but power scaling is still a tradition as old as time with Final Fantasy specifically.
Yeah, but if this isn't supposed to be the full game, then it makes sense to me to hold stuff back for it, you know? Like, oh,
yeah,
you gotta wait till the next game to get Faraga. Aren't you excited? Ooh,
but it's also being sold at full full
well,
price.
maybe then Square shouldn't make thirds of the game at once. I don't know. That's it's bothered me.
Final
the entire...
Fantasy VII reconsider.
Final Fantasy VII Rebalance.
There are 4th tier spells in Final Fantasy, but I should note that there wasn't really the 4th tier spells as we know them in Final Fantasy VII. In Final Fantasy VII, they did have one materia that did have higher level elemental spells, but it wasn't on the fire materia or the ice materia. It was in the contain materia, which just had the 4th level of all of them. And the
Freeze, tornado,
flare, I think.
Flare. No, Flare. What was Flare? Yeah.
Yeah, it was flare in Final Fantasy VII, the fire spell,
Yeah.
which is weird because in all the other Final Fantasies, that's the non-elemental.
Yeah, the fire. The big fire explosion is not elemental.
Well, because Bahamut was non-elemental and his was Mega Flare, so it's just odd. But like they didn't have Firaja or anything. That wasn't something that I think was introduced to Final Fantasy until 12 or something.
I want to say that early, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know 12 has them, but I can't think of any earlier game that has them.
No, it always stopped at Ga.
Yeah.
Me? Kuraga.
Have you ever noticed how stupid video game spell names sound?
Well, I mean, you say that, and there are advocates who still insist on just calling it, like, Fire 1, Fire 2,
I mean,
Fire 3.
It's
simple.
weird because there's a line, and I'm not sure where it falls, where Fire 1, Fire 2, Fire 3, Fire 4 is boring.
Yeah.
But Firaja just sounds stupid to me. So,
I mean, Kingdom Hearts gave us, what, Balloon Saga or whatever it is?
Oh, fuck frickin' Kingdom Hearts.
You say that, Ted, but you're a Shin Megami Tensei fan.
Oh, I don't like it in Shin Megami Tensei either. Like, especially because at least in... Here's the thing. Dragon Quest, the names are a joke. Like, the name for the explosion spell is Kaboom. So they specifically are dumb on purpose.
Same time, there's also... It's also simple. That's
Yeah.
the point.
And in Final Fantasy, they sound dumb, but at least you know what they do, right? Thunder, and then there's Thunda, or whatever. I forget what the
Thundara.
Thundara, there we go. At least you know what they do because the suffix is there, right? In Shin Megami Tensei, John, you've never played a Shin Megami Tensei game. What element do you think Zio is?
Earth?
Nope.
Why would you look at the Z spell and think Earth? It's obviously the spell that zaps things.
I'll tell you my correlation. Zeo sounds like Geo, which is geography.
Okay, how about Hama? What do you think Hama is?
That's
Okay,
fire.
No, that's light. Stupid. How dare you not know that?
Well, I know Bufu is ice.
That one I will give you.
That's the one I never liked. Bufu is ice. Like,
Yeah,
what the
Bufu
fuck
being ice is
the-
also...
I don't get any of it. So.
What
just
about
dumb
Agi?
across the
Can you
board.
guess Agi?
Agi is fire.
Yes, you got it. Good job, John.
Yeah.
You'll be
Only
a weeb
because
yet.
of Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow. There is a fire demon that has the prefix Agi. So.
A lot of the spell names in Shin Megami Tensei make more sense if you know Japanese or know the source words that it comes from. But yeah, I
It's
get
still
it.
dumb. It's still dumb.
Oh, well.
Yeah, I get you. In any case, see you all next time for the Airbuster boss fight.
Yay.